Hello everyone, Alder here again with something new. I've recently learned about the absolute beauty that is Bookwalker and have been devouring all of the light novels I can get a hold of. So I've decided to make it a part of my channel to celebrate it and to force myself to actually read more by making a new series where I review every novel that I purchase and read. I'll be starting with a light novel that's currently being advertised on the website's main page. The Combat Baker and his Automaton Waitress. The story follows Lud Langart, a retired hunter unit pilot, a mecha, of the Wiltian military, who moved to a small annexed country named Helfe after the war ended. Lud follows his dream and opens up a bakery named Tokerbolt. Although there is a problem. Being a soldier for so many years, Lud's expression has become very stoic and frightening to the residents. So that's when his friend and only customer Jacob comes up with the plan of hiring a waitress. A girl with red eyes and silver hair named Sven shows up for the job. The way that the novel starts out is relatively simple. Once Sven is hired, the focus of the first two-thirds of the novel is on trying to work out the debt and getting customers to actually come to the store. There's a few supporting characters who show up, although not that many. Marlene is a sister of the church who runs an orphanage in an old battered church, while Millie is a young teenage girl who absolutely hates Wiltia for taking over her country. For the most part, the story is a slice of life about the relationship forming between Sven and Lud. In the prologue, it is revealed that Lud's mech that he piloted was transformed into the girl we come to know as Sven. As a result, a lot of the internal conflict comes from the fact that we, the readers, know the truth about Sven being a they, however, Lud is oblivious, and rightfully so. There's a pretty major focus on the master and machine style relationship that Sven and Lud had during the war. Sven will do whatever she is ordered without thinking twice, and being originally a machine made to kill, she usually takes the path of violence. However, we have the contrast of her master, who never wants to harm anyone again, since his time with the military is completely over. It takes Sven quite a while to come to terms with the fact that the efficient soldier she worked with for years had softened up, and conflict arises entirely because of that. The last third of the novel focuses on an external force that was entirely unmentioned beforehand. There is a tonal shift that causes the novel to go from a complete slice of life with dark undertones to somewhat of an action story. This is easily the weakest part of the story, and it felt like a kick in the gut when I got to it. We suddenly get thrusted into the middle of a conspiracy that feels like it would have worked better in a prequel story. The writing, or it may have just been the translation, gets a little iffy around this point as well. Up until the last third of the translation, the translation was fine, and I didn't have any problems. However, there were several paragraphs I had to go back and read 3 or 4 times to make sure I understood what was happening. There's also a logic issue with the battles that made me question exactly how it worked out. In an effort to avoid spoiling as much as I can, I ask you, dear viewer, if you throw a bullet, not shoot it, but just throw it, how much damage do you think it would actually do to an enemy? That aside, the epilogue also left me with a bad taste. After reading through it 2 times, I finally comprehended exactly what it was trying to say, but boy, if that's the direction the series is going in, I'm going to be legitimately disappointed. It's a complete 180 from the slice of life direction created at the beginning of the story that I fell in love with. I hope that the author avoided repeating some of these mistakes with the second book, which is set to release globally sometime in this fall, according to the Bookwalker Twitter. Altogether, Combat Butler and his Automaton Waitress comes in at 230 pages, which I completed in 3 1.5-hour-long reading sessions. So altogether it would take between 4 to 5 hours to actually finish reading it. The good definitely outweighs the bad with this book, although I'd be wary about future titles. The relationship dynamic that forms between Spin and Lude was enthralling, and it felt nice to see that two characters start to fall for one another. However, the timeline of the series is kind of weird because the first book's only about a month in story, give or take. The writing wasn't the best, however it got the point across just fine and was enjoyable, even though enjoyable enough that I busted out laughing several times. If you're a sucker for romance like I am, you're most likely really going to enjoy it. There are a handful of scenes where Spin acts somewhat unlikable, usually with Marlene in the picture somehow. These are few and far in between, however. Avoiding spoilers, but the Deus Ex Machina at the end was also a real mood killer, although it was required. The art was pleasant enough when it showed up, however, even though I finished it only a handful of days ago, I can't actually remember what any piece of it looked like. So although it looked pretty, it wasn't that memorable in the long run, it seems. This is much more of a nitpick, as this is a light novel rather than a manga. However, it's still a part of the book, so it should be judged accordingly. So, would I actually recommend The Combat Baker and His Automaton Waitress? I think it's worth a read at the very least. Although it stumbled in the final act, it was enjoyable enough, and it really helped rekindle my love for reading that had been gone for a while. I'd be cautious about buying future books in the series, however, although I could entirely be wrong, and it could be just fantastic. If you disagree with me, please feel free to go down in the comments and explain why. I'd love to start a discussion and potentially see the points that I've missed. Again, you can get the Combat Baker and His Automaton Waitress at global.bookwalker.jp, as it is an exclusive series that only they have access to. Have a good night, everyone. This is Alder, signing out.